So today, we're diving into something that sounds like it's straight out of a geopolitical thriller. Pakistan has reportedly offered the United States control of a strategic port. Now, this isn't just some chess move on the world stage. It's a huge signal about a nation in some serious economic trouble, and it tells us a lot about the pressures shaping that whole region right now. So, how on earth did we get to this point? Well, first, we're going to look at the shocking proposal itself. Then we'll unpack the massive corporate exodus that hints at a much deeper problem. We'll dissect the crisis, see how Pakistan's story stacks up against its neighbors, and then finally, we'll ask the big question: is this port deal a brilliant lifeline or just a really desperate gamble?
All right, let's kick things off with this headline-grabbing offer. We're talking about a deal that could genuinely redraw the strategic map of the Arabian Sea.
So, an American port in Pakistan. Really? What is actually on the table here? Because this goes way beyond just building some docks. We're talking about something with massive implications for the region's balance of power.
Okay, so here's the deal. It's got a few layers. On the surface, it's about infrastructure. The US would get to build and run a whole terminal at Pasni port. But the real carrot being dangled here is access to Pakistan's huge deposits of critical minerals. We're talking lithium, rare earths, all the stuff you need for modern tech. That's the big incentive to get American investment dollars flowing again.
And this is where things get really interesting. You see this gap between the official story and the strategic reality. The plan, on paper, is all about finance and trade. But come on, look at where Pasni is located. It's right near Iran. A military angle seems almost inevitable if the US decides to move in.
But listen, this startling offer isn't happening in a vacuum. To really get the why behind it, you have to look at what's going on in the background. Some of the world's biggest companies are literally packing their bags and leaving Pakistan for good.
And just look at this list. I mean, we are not talking about small-time players. These are household names, global giants like P&G, Microsoft, and Shell. Every single one of them has looked at the Pakistani market and basically said, nope, we're out. This is no longer a viable place to do business.
And there's this really clear, kind of worrying pattern to how they're leaving. They aren't just scaling back operations. No, they're systematically dismantling their entire presence. They delist from the stock market, they sell off everything, plants, offices, the whole shebang, and then they announce they're gone for good. Making a U-turn after that, it's incredibly difficult.
This quote right here really just hits the nail on the head. When a consumer brand like Gillette, something people buy every day, decides to leave, that's a devastating signal. It's not just a business decision, it's like a verdict on the whole economy. It suggests that the purchasing power of the middle class, the very engine of a modern economy, has totally collapsed.
So why is this happening? To really understand the level of desperation that might be driving this whole port offer, we have to dig into the root causes of this economic freefall. I mean, what went so wrong?
Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is the spectacular failure of the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPEC. 8 years ago, this massive project was sold as an economic game-changer. Today, all that hope has just evaporated. It's been replaced by this feeling that it was all just hype.
You can actually trace this story of decline so clearly on this timeline. You can draw a straight line from that peak CPEC optimism through years of crippling inflation directly to that corporate exodus we just talked about, and now here we are with this port offer to the US.
And this is where it all connects. Years of inflation stuck around 20% have simply hollowed out the middle class. When people's savings just get vaporized, they can't afford to be customers for companies like Gillette and Microsoft anymore. It's a simple and frankly a brutal economic equation.
Now, to put Pakistan's struggle into some real context, let's just look next door. The contrast with its neighbor and rival, India, shows two nations on just fundamentally different economic paths. It's pretty stark. The numbers from the World Bank tell a really powerful story. While Pakistan is grappling with a rising poverty rate, India has seen its extreme poverty rate absolutely plummet. The two countries are just moving in completely opposite directions.
This side-by-side comparison just crystallizes that divergence. On one hand, you have Pakistan, now forced to sell off its national assets, ports, airports, just to stay afloat. And on the other, you have India, which is seeing strong GDP growth and this incredible reduction in poverty, which is only making it stronger in the region.
Which brings us right back to where we started, the offer of the Pasni port. So is this a smart, strategic pivot to save the economy? Or is it a last-ditch Hail Mary pass from a nation with its back completely against the wall?
The strategy behind this gamble is pretty clear. The hope is that by anchoring a U.S. presence at a strategic port, it won't just bring in some direct funding. It'll also send this massive signal to all those American companies that fled, hopefully convincing them that, hey, it's safe to come back and reinvest.
But, and this is a big but, there's some deep skepticism that this can actually work. The core argument against it is that a country's economic health is organic. It has to be fixed from the inside out. The problems are seen as so fundamental that even a super powerful partner can't just swoop in and fix everything.
And so, at the end of the day, we're left with this final critical question. Is selling off your most strategic assets a real path to long-term recovery, or is it just a temporary patch on a long downward spiral? The answer, whatever it ends up being, is definitely going to shape the future of that entire region.